Hey guys, what's up? It is snowing and I'm shooting on my phone again because I still haven't figured out a way to use my nice camera in the snow. So that's fine. That's not what we're talking about. Today we're going to talk about these little doohickeys. Charging handles, right? And specifically gas busting charging handles. We got a couple of them today. We're going to run them, say what we think about it. Let's get into it. All right, so gas busting charging handles. What's the purpose? I'm sure you've heard these things or heard of these things before. And in general, you probably really don't need one as much unless you shoot suppressed. If you shoot suppressed, it's very nice to have some form of a gas busting charging handle. If you don't shoot suppressed, it's not as big of a deal because it's not as compounded. And what in the world am I talking about? I jumped right into that. What I'm talking about is whenever you fire an AR-15, right? Your primer or your firing pin hits the primer goes off, lights off the powder, and starts pushing all this pressure and continually burning powder down the barrel as it pushes the bullet down the barrel, building pressure until it gets to wherever your gas port is. In my pistol, the gas port is right up in here. So when that bullet passes that gas port, it starts bleeding off gas. So that pressure that's been building, it bleeds off that pressure down this tube. See this tube right here? It's called your gas tube. That goes back into the gun, and through, witchcraft and magic and everything, it makes the gun run, right? Not really, but it shoots a bunch of gas back in here, and that operates the gun. That unlocks the bolt, pushes things around, causes stuff to move where it needs to move. It reloads, it functions a gun, basically, okay? All right, I'm not getting super nerdy. I'm trying to keep it super simple. Basically, that's what happens. And then the rest of that pressure goes out the barrel. After the bullet passes the muzzle and exits the barrel, the rest of that pressure just goes kaboom, and that's why guns are really loud. On an AR-15, you can put a suppressor on it, right? And that helps the kaboom, right? It helps suppress that a little bit so it's not as obnoxious to anybody that might be around you, or even to your own ears. I wear Ear Pro anyway. This is just Ear Pro on the gun. And that's nice, but what it does, we were talking about earlier, if you have a suppressor, it makes this whole issue worse because the way a suppressor works, again, without getting super nerdy and stuff, suppressors help cool down those gases and give them a time, just a split second, to kind of cool down, to dissipate, to not be as volatile, basically. It gives them like a calming second to catch their breath, and then they exit. The gases still come out the end of the muzzle right here, that hole. They still come out there, but they're, I don't know if you want to call it more contained or whatever, but they're calmer. We'll just say that. It gives them a way to be calmer. But something happens, right? When that bullet exits the suppressor, the bullet's gone. So that cork that's been holding back that pressure is gone, except that now this suppressor kind of acts like a cork. It's holding that pressure for just a second. And what that does is gases are lazy, right? They're going to look for the pathway of least resistance, right? If the suppressor is trying to hold those gases, well, there's an open line straight back into the gun. So basically, some or a lot or however much, depending on the suppressor, depending on a whole bunch of things. But in general, gases will go back into the gun because the suppressor's holding it, right? Trying to keep it from going out the barrel. And so it's kind of easy for some of those gases to go back into the gun even more, right? Does that make any sense? I hope that makes some sense. Just a little bit. I'm trying to be very, very just simplistic about this. But basically what that does is that pushes more gas back into the firearm. And if you notice back on here, there's lots of, this also is kind of a distressed look, so it doesn't show up as well. But all this black, there's a lot of black and a lot of carbon and stuff that comes back into the gun. And again, gases are lazy, so they look for an exit, and the fastest, closest way for them to get out is a hole somewhere. And so they find that hole and they get out, right? On an AR-15, see this big hole right here? In general, you'll have something that looks like this. This is a regular mil-spec charging handle. And a charging handle is basically how you run the gun, right? Big technical words for you, not really. But the charging handle goes in here like this. Your bolt, right? This holds your firing pin and all that kind of stuff. It goes in here like this. And whenever that gas comes down the gas tube, it kind of interacts with the bolt carrier, this whole thing in here. It unlocks and it starts pushing the bolt back, right? So it unlocks the bolt and starts pushing it back. You get what's called port pop, which is a lot of gases that come out of the barrel. And that's just a big open orifice right here. And a lot of them gases are going to come popping right back out here. But you also get a lot of gases. Surprisingly, you get a lot of gases that come out and try to get out. Open this guy up for you. They come and try to get out of these little crevices right here, these little holes, these little gaps, and that is right by your face, right? That was a long way to say gases come back at your face when you shoot a gun. Basically, it's a long way to say that. And I hope it made kind of sense. Maybe it didn't make sense. Maybe I totally over-explained it. But basically, on a mil-spec charging handle, there's not a whole lot. It's kind of walled off. It's kind of sealed off, but it's not... You can't completely seal off this system. You can put some kind of, RTV, silicone stuff. You can do some different tips and tricks and things to kind of seal it off. But in essence, you can't completely block this off because you have to use this to load the gun, right? If you have a malfunction, you have to lock the bolt back. I can lock it back. Ouch. It's cold. Fingers are frozen. You have to use this little lever thing here. It's kind of like a doorknob. You got to use it to open the door. You got to use it to run the gun, right? So different people have thought up of different things to get around this. As far as the gas is coming back into your face, again, you can't seal it off. So what you can do is, here's two different companies that make gas busting charging handles. I got this guy first, a long time ago. Make sure I say it right. It is a PRI. Which one is it? M85, I think. I don't know. Anyway, it's a PRI gas busting charging handle. This is a clone correct piece, right? Because this is for my Mark 18s and my Mark 12s and stuff, except I put the big latch that has knurling on it. I think the one that's supposed to have doesn't have knurling. I don't care. I want knurling because I have gloves and it'll slip off. But this guy, as you can see, has a much higher raised wall back here. This whole piece is thick, right? So big old chunky piece right back here that helps those gases when they come back, they kind of hit that wall and divert back up instead of coming straight back in your face. It also has a cut right here. Yep, right there. You can kind of see where that piece is cut up. What that does, again, is it gives those gases that are lazy an avenue of escape. Instead of coming straight back at you, they're coming back. The gases are coming back at you. They hit that little alley and they say, hey, there's an opening. Let's get out. And so some of those gases bleed off that way. They did the same thing on the bottom. It's kind of a swooping cut. So those gases that come back down, they kind of hit this little groove and they kind of scoot themselves out. Now, it's not 100% perfect. Again, none of these things can really be 100% perfect, but it does really help. They have this is a very, very tall latch, right? So it's a big piece of metal that's blocking those gases from coming straight back at you. Now, that's from PRI. From Breek Arms, they have a Warhammer. They had a Mod 1, and then their Mod 2 they came out with basically does the same things, right? It's not as big as the PRI. I mean, you hold them up next to each other, you can see a huge difference. This is relatively thin, and this is super thick, super chunky, right? But this does the same thing where it has a raised portion on the back, right? Not near as big as the PRI, but it's got a raised portion to help seal off that little area where those gases come out. It also has the little cut right here where it aids in those gases, just giving them an avenue of escape. And it has the angled cut right here on the bottom. So it aids in just pushing those gases away from your face. Now, are every single one of these perfect? No. They each have their pros and cons. The Warhammer definitely is, I think, I don't remember what their MSRP is, but you can get them for around $40. The PRI is more like in your 80, 90, $100. You know, it's just like that. Whereas you get your little mil-spec charging handle, these things are cheap. These are probably what, $15, $10, $20 maybe? Maybe they're $20. I don't know. You can get some really, really cheap ones. But what we're going to do, we're going to shut up. We're just going to shoot this thing real quick. This is an 11.5-inch gun, right? We do have a 5.56 suppressor on it. I could put a 30 cal suppressor on it. And what that would do is that would open up the bore, right? That hole at the end. And that would allow more gases to go out, right? But we're trying to see how well these charging handles work. So we're not going to try to cheat and make the system run well. I also took out my adjustable bolt carrier group. And this is actually a Colt mil-spec bolt carrier group, the whole bolt carrier group. So this is nothing special. There's no added benefits to the system to make it not gassy back here, basically. It's going to be gassy. So we're going to shoot a few rounds with the mil-spec the PRI and then the Warhammer. And we'll see. We'll just see. It's just totally non-scientific, but we'll see. Okay, so today we're using 55 grain. I believe it's Tula. Yes, Tula. We're just gonna shoot like 5 rounds. I'm gonna put you. I'm not exactly sure. This will be over gas, so probably shoot the brass forward. I'm gonna shoot it about like this, and maybe you can see some of the gases coming out of here or not. I don't know. You'll see my eyes tear up probably. But let's just shoot 5 rounds, nice and snappy, and we'll see if we get gassed out. Being gassed out means your eyes burn. It gets hard to breathe for a second because it's just a bunch of gas in your face. It just makes you want to blink and everything. But 5 rounds. All right, I know for me, 5 rounds, yep, you feel it. It's right there. It just stings your eyes just a little bit. It's just gas. It's not anything in your eyes. It's just gas, right? It's just like a, I don't know, like a peppery kind of thing, right? All right, so here we go. This is the PRI gas buster, right? Definitely chunkier, definitely bigger. It's way easier to grab hold of, I know that. But again, 5 rounds. We'll see how it runs. All right, so it still comes back at you. It still does, but I don't know how well it shows it out here. It does seem to help divert it, right? Instead of it coming straight back into your eye, it does help push it away from your eye. And I can honestly say my eye didn't sting. There was still gas, but my eye did not sting from that, okay? All right, last but not least, here's the Warhammer. So gas busting cuts in the little wall and thing in the back, and it's ambient and everything. So we'll see how well this guy does. 5 rounds again, see how it rolls. All right, so I first want to apologize. I totally forgot that I'm not using my nice camera. And since I'm not using my nice camera, I would shoot, and then I probably was talking, and you couldn't hear anything because it cuts out the audio. Stupid. Anyway, sorry. So I might have had to voice over. I don't know what exactly I did. But breaking it all down, the mil-spec charging handle, it doesn't do a whole lot as far as gas busting at all. It's just a charging handle. That's all it does. The Warhammer does better than the mil-spec, in my opinion. It is ambi, right? It does help divert some of those gases, but it's still gassy, right? You still get a bunch of gas that comes back in your face. The PRI actually did pretty well. That was the one out of only 3, super non-scientific. But the only one out of the 3 that my eye didn't sting afterwards. After 5 rounds, just, pop. My eye didn't sting. So that's the only one. Now, who's to say if I shot more, it just build up more gas and then just start getting back in your face? Maybe. I don't know. But that being said, you get a lot of bang for your buck with the Warhammer because it's about half the price of the PRI. So depending on what you're trying to do and what you really want to do, that depends on what you want to get, right? I will say I bought the PRI, right? That's for clone builds and stuff, my Mark 18s, my Mark 12s. That Warhammer was given to me, by Break Arms to do videos and whatnot about. Not this video. They don't know I'm doing this video. But I honestly do have to say, for half the price, it does well. If you really want to cut that gas, you really want to keep that stuff out of your face, you're a competitive shooter, you're whatever, and you want to keep the gases out, then get a PRI. The PRI definitely works better. I will have to say that. I have to say that. It is what it is. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But the PRI does work better. But it is about 90 to $100, something like that. So it is what it is. Depending on what your priorities are, that depends on what you get. And it's not ambi. Warhammer's ambi. So there's pros and cons. But as far as gas busting, PRI beat it out today. So that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you have a specific gas busting charging handle that you like to use? I do like to know what you guys like to use. There's a lot. I'm going to forget them. It's not Aero Precision. They probably make one. A lot of the companies out there make one. Geisley has them. A bunch of different people have them, and they charge 80 to 120, 130 bucks. There's a big one in my head. The Raptor, right? Raptor makes them, I think. I don't remember how much those things cost, but it seems like everybody's all ogling over Raptors and stuff. And it's like, okay, that's great. I've never used one though. So if any of you guys have used them, let me know. Do they actually help? If you go and do a mag dump or even just 5 rounds, 5 rounds is a reasonable amount to shoot, especially if you're like competitive shooting and whatnot, you know, a little 5-round split or whatever. I don't know what that means, but 5 rounds, that's a reasonable thing to do, 3 to 5 rounds. And so I would think there'd be a lot of people that shoot that way. And so they look for these tools and things to mitigate that gas in their face. You know, anyway, there's a lot to be said about the competitive world, right? I think a lot of them know a lot more about the shooting stuff than we give them credit for because they actually shoot. They may not know tactics, but pretty much nobody else in here does either. So it is what it is. All right, y'all be good, be safe. I'm going to shut up. That kind of went on for a weird tangent. That's pretty much it. Y'all take care. Hopefully we'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, and I do have to say it because I told some people I would say it. I do have Patreon. I do have Teespring. Teespring, you get merch and stuff like that if you buy it, and I get some money from that because it's my merchandise. And the Patreon, if you really just love me for whatever weird reason and you just want to support what I do, and by supporting what I do, I mean you want to give me some money for bullets and gas and toys and stuff so I can come out here and keep doing this stuff, Patreon's a good way to just give me money like that. I feel really weird even saying that kind of stuff, but I do try to give back to you guys on there. I try to do a weekly, an up-to-date update of what exactly did we do last week? What really are we going to be working on this week, right? And I have some other projects and things that I work on there that I don't put on YouTube, for different reasons and things, but that's Patreon if you really want to support. If you do, if you don't, just whatever. You have fun. It's cool, whatever. But the Teespring is a way to get something back for your money, right? You get hats, shirts, whatever. They don't make underwear. They do make socks. I think I do have some socks on there, but whatever. That's just out there. And then Instagram, I try to post on there every now and then. I should do more. That's really easier than YouTube because you post up pictures and little short things. But I try to do that on there. And then Gunstreamer. Gunstreamer's a good little extra platform. Anything that's posted on YouTube gets cross-posted over there. And it's just a good extra platform, I think, to be a part of, to be involved in. There's some other big names of folks over there, and not everybody knows about that place, but everything that's on YouTube gets cross-posted over there as far as my channel goes. But those links and stuff like that are down below if you're interested. And if you're not, no skin off my nose. Like, I don't care. It's fine. Y'all be good. You take care. That's it. I'm done.